Mara was the kind of secretary who faded into the background, quiet, efficient, always a step ahead of what her boss needed. She spent her days organizing meetings, sorting emails, fetching coffee just the way he liked it. 2 sugars, no cream. Her boss, Daniel, was everything she wasn't. Charismatic, confident, married. His wife, Emily, was beautiful and kind, often stopping by the office to bring him lunch or remind him not to skip dinner. Mara watched them with a tight smile, fingers clenching on her keyboard. She told herself it was just admiration, just respect for a man who treated her well, who remembered her birthday and thanked her for staying late. But the way her heart fluttered when he smiled, the way she caught herself staring a second too long, it was more than that. And deep down, she knew it. It started with small things, keeping a photo of Daniel clipped to a document long after she needed it, spraying her wrist with his wife's perfume, the scent lingering sweet and sharp. But it wasn't enough. By the time spring rolled in, Mara's spare bedroom was a shrine. Photos of Daniel pinned to corkboards, his favorite brand of coffee stacked neatly on a shelf, a tie he'd left behind at a conference draped over her chair. She spent nights there, lights dim, tracing the lines of his face in pictures, imagining what it would feel like to be the one he smiled at that way. It was harmless, she told herself. Just a way to cope, just a fantasy. But fantasies have a way of bleeding into reality. Mara started staying late, long after the office emptied out, pretending she had too much work to finish. Daniel never questioned it, just thanked her with a tired smile and a pat on the shoulder that sent heat curling under her skin. She started intercepting emails, deleting the ones from Emily, asking when he'd be home. She told herself it was to help him focus, to make things easier. But each time Daniel stayed late, each time his phone buzzed unanswered, the guilt twisted tighter. Then came the night of the Christmas party, wine flowing, music thrumming soft through the office. Daniel leaned in close to thank her for organizing it, cologne warm and dark, eyes tired but grateful. Mara's heart raced, cheeks flushed. She'd imagined this moment 1,000 times, alone in his office, shadows deep, wine warm in her veins. When she leaned in, voice soft, hand brushing his arm, she saw something flicker in his eyes, surprise, then guilt. He pulled back, words stumbling, ring glinting under the fluorescent lights. Mara's smile faltered, heat flooding cold. She forced a laugh, said it was a joke, blamed the wine, cheeks burning with humiliation. But Daniel avoided her eyes for the rest of the night. By January, things had shifted. Daniel's smiles were strained, conversations clipped, eyes flicking to the clock whenever Mara lingered too long. He started forwarding calls directly to Emily, asking Mara not to stay late, words careful and firm. She couldn't stand it, the distance, the coldness. The way he smiled at Emily when she stopped by, soft and warm, like nothing had changed. That's when Mara found the key, the one Daniel kept in his desk, tagged with a strip of blue tape. His home office. She shouldn't have taken it. She knew that. But jealousy twists reason, turns good sense dark and desperate. She waited until they were out for dinner, watched them leave, hands clasped, Emily's laugh bright in the dusk. The house was dark, curtains drawn, alarm code too easy to guess. Mara's hands shook as she slipped inside, heart pounding. Daniel's home office was neat, framed photos, books lined perfect, papers stacked in crisp rows. But it was the photos that stopped her cold. Emily in a sundress, hair bright in the sun, Daniel's arms wrapped tight around her. Their wedding day, smiles wide and genuine. Rage twisted sharp, fingers trembling as she flicked through files, pulled open drawers. Wedding invitations, family letters, vacation photos. Her hands clenched, nails digging deep. She couldn't breathe past the tightness in her chest, the proof that Daniel loved Emily, that he would never look at Mara that way. That's when she heard it, the garage door grumbling open, headlights sweeping across the window. They were home early. Mara's breath caught, hands shaking as she slammed drawers shut, pulse roaring in her ears. Footsteps echoed down the hall, voices warm and close. Her fingers slipped on the doorknob, panic twisting sharp. She barely made it out the back, breath fogging cold, hands numb. The next day, Daniel's eyes were dark and tired, mouth pressed in a thin line. He asked Mara to come into his office, voice flat, fingers drumming tense on the desk. Someone had broken in last night, he said, his eyes flicking sharp to hers, voice tight. Emily was shaken. They were installing cameras, changing locks. He needed to know if Mara had seen anything suspicious, if she'd noticed anyone hanging around the office. Her voice shook when she lied, fingers twisting tight. Daniel's eyes narrowed, suspicion dark and heavy. By evening, she couldn't take it. The guilt, the shame, the way he wouldn't meet her eyes. She went home, hands shaking, wine sour on her tongue, and stumbled into her spare room, walls covered in photos. His tie still draped over her chair, shrine intact and damning. Her phone buzzed, screen lighting harsh and bright. An unknown number. Stay away from my husband. The next morning, security waited in the lobby, eyes cold, words clipped. Daniel couldn't even look at her as they handed her a box, files sealed neat and final. No warning, no explanation, just silence. As Mara left, cheeks hot with humiliation, she saw Emily watching from the parking lot, arms crossed, eyes dark and calm. A warning, cold and clear. Mara's hands trembled, shame twisting raw. She spent weeks waiting for the police, for papers to arrive, for Daniel to call. But no one came. The world moved on, and Mara was left alone, walls bare, boxes stacked neat, shrine dismantled. But sometimes, at night, her phone buzzed with unknown numbers, texts that went unanswered, voicemails that played soft and dark. He was never yours. I see you. Stay away. Out of fear, she changed her number, moved apartments, deleted everything. But guilt has a way of clinging, long and dark and sharp. What do you think of this true life story? Do you think obsession can ever end well? Comment below and subscribe for more thrilling stories. Oh, and be careful who you trust your heart to.